What's up guys, I'm PokerfaceAsh and welcome to my channel. I made it to Vegas and I unfortunately just busted the Wynn $200 daily tournament. Had a nice stack and then when it mattered my strong hands could not hold up till the river. So I'm out and gonna look to play another tournament here, but so happy to be back in Vegas in my natural tournament habitat. If you've been watching the channel, you know I love tournaments, so I'm excited to take you guys on some cool adventures this week and I look forward to hopefully giving you guys some good news. Alright guys, well I busted my very first bullet in the WSOP C event, $400 buy-in, so I'm here at the Wynn because one of my good friends is running deep in the $200 10K guarantee, so I'm gonna sweat that and play some cash and hopefully get some cool hands in and hopefully win some money because now we are stuck about 450 bucks on the trip. Not too bad, especially after shipping the South Point tournament last night with $60
I've never seen you tie
into 406 tonight at the South Point nightly tournament. Pretty much a day saver today, which was a day saver for me. So I'll see you guys at the Wynn poker room. So I took my seat at the Wynn 2-3 no limit 500 max buy-in table. I didn't wait too long before picking up my very first playable hand where I'm under the gun 1 and I look down at pocket queens.
With their hands!
I make it $15 and only the big blind calls, so we go heads up to a flop. The flop is 5-9 jack with 2 spades. This is a pretty dynamic board. There's a lot of gut shots and straight draws and flush draws available, so I want to size up a bit and I make it $20. He calls. The turn is the king of spades, which brings in the flush. He checks and I check it back. The river is the 5 of hearts. He leads for $25. I think for this sizing, I just need to make a crying call, and so I toss in the chips to call, and he shows king jack offsuit, so not the ideal start here to this session at the Wynn. In this hand, it folds all the way around to the small blind, and he raises to $12. Back where I'm from, I'm used to chopping a lot, so I'm not used to playing small blind versus big blind spots, but I don't feel like folding. I got deuce 4 of hearts, so let's play some poker. The flop comes 10 deuce 4 with all diamonds, so we flop a sneaky 2 pair. He checks, and I'm gonna start firing here, and I bet $15. He makes the call. The turn is the 8 of hearts. He checks, and I'm gonna continue betting for value and denial, so I bet 25. He calls again. The river is a jack of hearts, and I still think my hand is gonna be good here. A lot of the time, he might hero with a 10, possibly even a river jack, so I make a bet of 45, and very quickly he makes the call, so we scoop a nice pot here, playing small blind versus big blind. In this hand, middle position raises to $10. He's opening a very wide range of hands and likes to play a lot of pots. A recreational player calls, and I decide to peel in the small blind with king queen offsuit. The flop comes king jack 7 with all hearts. The flop checks around. The turn is a 6 of clubs. It's likely I'm ahead here unless someone flopped a flush, so I'm gonna start betting and I make it $15. Only the original raiser calls, so we go heads up to a river, which is another jack. I check, planning to call a river bet. He bets $15. I make the call, he shows king 10, and we scoop another one. There's not too much to talk about in this hand, but I did pick up pocket jacks under the gun and I raised to $15. I get 3 callers, so we go 4 ways to a flop that comes queen high with all hearts. Out of position on a queen high monotone board, I put in the check. Next to act makes it $30, and out of position here, I think it's really ambitious to think that I could get the showdown with my jack, so I go ahead and make the fold. In this hand, there's a raise from under the gun 2, the guy who's been playing a lot of hands and opening a lot. He makes it $10. I look down at pocket jacks in the small blind and I want to size up just a little bit here out of position and I make it $42. He quickly folds, so we don't scoop a big pot, but at least we know how it feels to win with pocket jacks. Alright guys, buckle up. In this hand, under the gun raises to $10. I'm next to act and look down at king, queen of diamonds. I consider 3-betting but decide on a flat. There's 2 callers, so we go 4 ways to a flop. The flop is ace 8 jack with 2 diamonds. We flop ourselves a gut shot straight draw and a gut shot royal draw. Under the gun player bets $20. Being in position here and having a lot of equity in this hand, I want to keep all worse hands in, although I can raise, but I decide to flat and see what develops, so I decide to call and the others fold, so we go heads up to a turn, which is the 5 of diamonds, and we bink the absolute nuts. We have a flush. The original raiser checks and I decide on a bet size of $50. He makes the call, so we head to a river, which is another ace. He checks yet again, and a lot of the time I'm gonna go for value here. I was trying to think of what hands I can get value from, and of course I can get value from an ace. With not a ton of information on my opponent, I decide on a very nitty check, and as soon as I check, my opponent flips over ace jack. So he flopped 2 pair and rivered a boat, and I just feel like I saved myself $1 million, and he was pretty tilted that I didn't bet there. I should definitely be betting that river, and then I can easily fold to a raise. Now it's time to top up and reload after losing this pot. In this hand, I'm under the gun 1 and look down at pocket 3s, and I raise to $10. The 2 guys to my left call, middle position, and the big blind call, so we go 5 ways to a flop of 8, 6, 3 rainbow. It checks to me, and we have bottom set and want to start putting money in this pot, so I bet $20. Only 1 guy to my left calls, so we go heads up to a turn card, which is the 2 of spades, and it brings in a spade flush draw. I bet $40, he makes the call. The river is a total brick, it's an offsuit jack. So on this board in this run out, there's a lot of hands that miss here, like 7-9, 5-6, 7-6, and he can show up here with some missed flush draws as well, and I don't think the jack helps his range any, so I actually decided to check it over to him. I had just seen him bluff some rivers, so I decided to check it and see if it would induce him to make a mistake, and he thought for a bit, as you can see, and then finally carved out a bet of $60, and as soon as he put his chips in the middle, I snap called, and he showed ace 5 of spades. So he did indeed have a miss straight draw / flush draw, and we finally scoop a nice pot. In this hand, there's a really fun rec player under the gun who limps. It folds to me on the cutoff, and I look down at ace 4 offsuit. Not necessarily a great hand, but I think I want to try and isolate and see if I can play a pot in position against the rec player, so I make it $15. He makes a few comments and says, "Alright, one time, I'll call." The flop is 5-5 deuce rainbow. He leads into me for $15, and we have ace high, a gut shot, and it's likely our hand is still ahead at this point, so I put in the call. The turn is an offsuit 7. He checks, and I decide to check as well. The river is an 8. He checks again, and I think our hand has enough showdown value to check here, as we don't need to turn it into a bluff, so he rolls over king 4 offsuit, and I roll over my ace high, and we take it down against the fun rec player. So somehow I wasn't recording and missed this hand, but there was a bunch of limps. I had jack 10 offsuit, and long story short, I went runner full house and won a decent pot, so now our stack is up to $663, and now we finally reached Profitville, and we are up $63. In this hand, the rec player limps under the gun. I look down at king jack offsuit in middle position, and I bump it up to $15. The big blind and the limper call, so we go 3 ways to a flop of ace 10 8 with 2 diamonds. They check it over to me, and this flop favors my range, and I have a hand that I can continue barreling with some gut shot equity and my position, so I put out a bet of $20. Only the big blind calls, so we go heads up to a turn, which is an offsuit 3. He checks, and my live read is that he looks very weak and very unsure, so I want to keep firing here, and I bet $45. He thinks for a while, looks like he doesn't want to make the call, and then puts in the 45, which now I'm thinking his most likely hand is probably a flush draw. The river is a king, so we do pair up on the river. He checks it over to me, and now we have a lot of showdown value, and our hand can be good a lot of the time. So I check, and he rolls over king 3 of diamonds. So we run into a hand there that we can't win at showdown, and a little unfortunate because he did in fact have a flush draw. So if our king doesn't pair up on that river and we fire again, we will almost for sure take the pot down. So just a little bit unlucky. In this hand, under the gun raises to $10, and I look down next to act at ace-king offsuit, and I 3-bet to 35. The rec player cold calls the 35, and the under the gun player calls, so we're going 3 ways to a flop, which is ace-3-5. They check it over to me, and I put out a bet of $30. They both call, so we head to a turn card, which is a 2. The rec player then shoves for $100. The player to my right puts in the call, and now I have a decision on my hands. The rec player could have absolutely anything. He could even be overvaluing a hand like ace-9, ace-10, ace-jack, etc. And I'm not quite sure what the player to my right has, but at the time I felt like my hand was just a little bit too strong to fold yet, so I put in the call as well. The river is the 10 of clubs, and the player to my right checks, and I can't check fast enough. The rec player shows pocket 4s, so he turned a straight, and the guy to my right claimed that he had ace-5 suited, so pretty brutal there to run into 2 hands that crushed my ace-king. So after that hand, I had to top up, and so now we're in the game for $800. I think I made a few mistakes on that hand, one being I'm not sure I should be c-betting on that board because there are some bad turn cards that can come for us, which is exactly what happened when the rec player makes a straight on the turn. The second mistake I made was after the rec player goes all in and the guy to my right calls, it's likely my hand is not good at that point, although at the time I thought I was getting the right price, and there was a small chance that my hand was good, but all in all, I think I made a few mistakes, and we'll try to play that spot better in the future. By the way, to get better, to study, and to practice these spots that I sometimes struggle with, I've been training using the site advancedpokertraining.com, and I've been getting a lot out of it. I like the way I can train while actually playing poker, and I especially like that I can retry any hand I play on there in case I want to try a different strategy. It gives you hints and tips and lets you know what the best play is on any action. You can customize everything, even how many players you're playing against, what hands you want to be dealt, and it's a great way to practice and get some great fundamentals. I actually met Steve Blay, the founder of APT. I found out he's actually a big fan of my YouTube channel, so head to advancedpokertraining.com and check it out. I think you'll get a lot out of it. The site is free to check out, and if you decide to get one of their paid memberships, you can use my code Ashley or PokerfaceAsh, and that'll get you guys a big discount. Alright, in one of the last hands I played, there's a loose player who opens from early position to $10. The player to my right, who I think is a pro, he 3-bets and makes it $35. I look down at pocket 9s and decide to peel in position. The original raiser folds, so we go heads up to a flop of 9-8-6 with 2 diamonds, so we flop ourselves top set. He c-bets and makes it $35. This is a very wet and dynamic board, and I have top set, so let's try to get more money in the pot, and I raise to $100. He puts in the call, so we head to a turn card, which is an offsuit 2. He checks, and I want to go for max value and charge all of his draws, as well as put pressure on all of his overpairs, so I bet $175. He tanks for quite a while, and then finally and sadly puts in the fold, so we scoop a nice pot on one of our very last hands for the session. So it was time to rack up and get some sleep for a full day of poker tomorrow. I was in the game for $800 and I cashed out with $630 for a loss of $170. We are finally having our next PokerfaceAsh meetup game. It's going to be at Lone Butte, Saturday, April 9th, 6 p.m. Bring a friend, try to win some Ash Cash, and we're gonna have a great time. I'm gonna be vlogging it, and I hope to see you guys there. If you have any questions, just go ahead and DM me. Otherwise, I'll see you at Lone Butte.
Well, that's gonna do it for vlog number 29. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, would you do me a huge favor and go all in and like, comment, and subscribe? It would mean the world to me. Remember, we're just getting started on this journey, and it's only up from here. I'll see you guys next time.